Child abuse inflicted by Roman Catholic priests has become an all-too-common bad news story. Finding a new way to treat the dismal subject matter is a challenge. Grant LaFlèche of the St. Catharines Standard rose to that challenge, skillfully outlining the reach these abuses have had in his community and on the lives of the victims. Their stories are told delicately, in clear, crisply evocative prose. The man at the center of LaFlèche's series suffered the unthinkable at the hands of multiple priests. The reporter follows his journey from the confines of a jail cell to the difficult path towards redemption. Judges said this submission captured the essence of the terrible tale, recounting it with both impact and compassion. Ontario's prison system is now the focus of a major reform effort, triggered in part by Randy Richmond's exposure of the scandalous conditions and mismanagement at a local detention center. Prisoners form an easily ignored segment of society, but the London Free Press journalist hasn't forgotten about them. He exposes the cataclysm wrought by fentanyl, as well as the brutal and inexplicable murder of an inmate at the hands of his cellmate. Richmond's relentless reporting unpacks scandal and terrible management at the jail. Judges said the series was enterprise reporting at its best, powerfully written, richly documented, and compelling accounts of significant, hard-to-get stories that hold authorities to account and demand action. Assisted dying has been in the Canadian consciousness since the advocacy and death of Sue Rodriguez in the early 1990s. After medical assistance in dying was made legal in 2016, a series of stories by Amy Smart of the Victoria Times Colonist put a human face on the significant obstacles that Canadians still face when seeking to end their lives as their quality of life declines. With eloquence and compassion, Smart exposes the barriers that exist for citizens in British Columbia, including a refusal to provide the service because of religious beliefs. She elevates the local experience to national relevance and adds depth to a conversation that will only increase in prevalence as the Canadian population ages.
The award goes to Grant LaFlèche.
I look at some of the work done here tonight, and I feel a little bit like the kazoo player who's been asked to jam with the Beatles. So I actually wrote it down so I wouldn't forget what it was I was supposed to say. Not to bore you with thank yous, but I do want to thank my editor, Angus Scott, who's sitting in the back. I work at and this will be familiar to most of you, an understaffed, overworked newsroom that always seems like it's going to fly apart at the seams. So I'm grateful that Angus always gives me the time to do investigative pieces, which is not easy in a newsroom our size. I guess the thing I want to say about this piece, and that's Father Greco, a guy who abused a man I wrote about named William O'Sullivan. And this was somebody who suffered systemic and repeated rape at the hands of people he was supposed to be able to trust. And the trick behind this story was not to dumb down that language, not to use euphemisms to make it sound like something that would be more palatable to our readers. So it wasn't an easy story to write, nor was it easy for people to read. And I just want to again thank Angus for giving me the opportunity to write it that way. And the last thing I'm going to say, not to bore anybody with a long speech, is just newsrooms our size have taken a real hit as cutbacks in our industry have made it more difficult for us to do daily journalism, never mind invest the resources to do this. So the only thing I want to say to all of you tonight is we face a lot of challenges as an industry, and there are fewer of us on the front line than there were even a decade ago. But you know, Edward R. Murrow used to say, difficulty is not an excuse that history will accept, and we just have to keep doing the work that we're doing no matter the circumstances, so long as we're able to do it. So thank you and merci.